Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining me on this very special episode today of The Lyme Boss. Hello, I'm Heather Gray, The Lyme Boss. I help frustrated professionals get over their mystery, chronic, digestive issues, chronic pain, fatigue. A lot of them don't even know it's Lyme. Could it be Lyme? I don't know. Let's get to the root cause of your symptoms instead of just throwing Band-Aids on side effects, right? That's part of the reason why I was so honored to have Mr. Dr. Bill Rawls on our guest, I guess on my show today. See, I'm even stuttering a little bit. I'm a little on the nervous side because I've just been such a huge fan of your work for so long now. So I'm just blessed. Thank you for coming on today. This is a true honor. And I just love what you're putting out there. So I think probably one of my biggest pet peeves in the Lyme world is so many people are focused on treatment. I'm in all the groups and all of them are like, what did you do to treat? And I'm over here, I'm a functional practitioner going, no, you can't focus on treatment. Otherwise you're going to relapse, right? Or you're not going to get fully better. And you put it so eloquently in your books, in your webinars, like everything you do. It's like gold. It's beautiful. It's like speaking straight to my heart. And I just love that, as a doctor, you're talking about lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey. And I did have a couple, like I said, questions from some of my tribe talking about chronic constipation, which is a very common and, I even did a webinar called Talking Shit, the shocking truth about chronic constipation, because people aren't talking about that. I don't think enough, right? It's still kind of taboo and it's absolutely foundational. You've got to get people moving in order to get better. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Well, in my journey, I experienced virtually every symptom of Lyme disease that I've had than anybody I've heard discuss in one form or another. And the good news is I'm 65 and I've been away from that for 10 years and it's been great, and I've been, not only have I been well, I've been exceptionally well for a long time. And it's something that I just keep refining and life is good. And, that's a big message. But, we don't just get a tick bite and become ill most of the time.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, a little louder for the people in the back.
Yeah, really. It's 95% of the people I've talked to, literally thousands of people over the past decade that identify with chronic Lyme disease do not remember a tick bite or have becoming acutely ill around the time of a tick bite. And there are exceptions, and we can talk about that, but most people don't. And so my journey was I became a physician. I oriented toward the specialty of obstetrics and gynecology because it was mostly well patients. It was acute interventions that people got well, and just delivering a baby was really cool. But back then, practicing in a small town, I was required to do call every second to third night. And when I was in my 30s, I could get away with it. But even back then, too, there was this idea floating around of questioning why we even needed sleep. So it was like, yeah, I'm tough. I can push through, So I'd maybe get 2 hours to 4 hours, sometimes no sleep at all on nights on call. And then the next night, it's like, yeah, I could stay up and do things I need to do until 12 o'clock and get up the next morning at 7 and just push right through. And it catches up with you. And
so I was just going to say, it caught up with you, didn't it?
That kind of stress, my whole body just fell apart in my late 40s. First identified with fibromyalgia, like so many people do, but had symptoms of MS and Parkinson's. I had this weird tremor that started, that I was getting this head bob and, my hands were shaking and it's like, am I getting Parkinson's? And I had these weird paresthesias and brain fog. Worse for me, though, was heart. And that was the scariest thing. My heart was skipping every second to third beat, and I had continual chest pain. And, went to just scores of doctors and nobody really helped me. They ran tests and it's like, well, your thyroid's a little off. Let's try some thyroid hormone. Well, that didn't help. And so fibromyalgia was the only thing that kind of fit. And I kind of think as fibromyalgia now is kind of a pre-disease that people, if they don't change what they're doing, sooner or later, they're going to get something else. But nobody wants that diagnosis. So I, like most people, really searched hard until I, got a positive test for Borrelia. And then it was like, okay, great. Now I've got something I can treat. And after several rounds of antibiotics made me sicker and then better, it was like, man, this isn't working. And so I started searching and started really questioning everything I'd learned in medical school. So I had to give up obstetrics. I gave up the night call. Still, my sleep was a wreck for years after that. But I didn't have that obligation. I started a medical practice that would be something like a functional medical practice today, but kind of before that it even existed, because I was still trying to figure things out, And so I changed a lot of things. I changed my diet, I changed a lot of things, but I still just wasn't getting well. But then I read Stephen Booner's book, Healing Lyme, which was published in 2005, about the time I was going through all this. And I was like, this is at least plausible. I really didn't have much faith in herbs before that time. But I read the book and it was like, yes, he presented, accounts of thousands of people that had gained benefit. It seemed very logical. But it was also safe, and it was something that I could afford and bring to me. I really didn't have the luxury of chasing around the country to find other kinds of physicians, Lyme doctors, whatever. So I did this thing. I just took handfuls of herbal capsules every day for months and started to get my life back. But not one thing, all the symptoms started clearing. And it was kind of back and forth for a while because I would get 70% better. And then, it's kind of like, yes, I've done the treatment now. I've killed the microbes. I can stop taking these things, or I should stop taking these things. So I would give up, and then stress would come along and I'd be flat on my face again. And, sometimes after taking the same herbs for a long time, I'd feel like I hit a little bit of a plateau. So I started exploring other kinds of herbs. And eventually I just decided, I'm better on the herbs. I feel better. I'm just going to keep taking them. And so I have been for 15 years. And not only did all the Lyme symptoms clear up, it was remarkable. The brain symptoms cleared. The heart symptoms cleared. And I was really scared. I ended up with a cardiac cath. They said my vessels were clear, but I might have to have a pacemaker. And it was like, no, this isn't good. And they don't have anything to offer but drugs. And so that was about the time I started the herbs, and all the heart symptoms cleared up and it all got better.
I think that is probably one of the scariest of the symptoms. I remember people have no idea what it's like. Like, you're not really supposed to notice these different organs in your body, right? And then I can sit there and watch TV and just feel this boom, 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 just these like three really hard things that kind of feel like it's coming out of my chest, and it kind of takes your breath away. It's scary. Like, it's bizarre. And yeah, I haven't dealt with that in a long time. I remember the last time it was like Christmas. I was out at a movie theater watching a Christmas Day movie and had to take myself to the ER because my heart was doing so many crazy things. And then of course you get there and they hook you up to the machines and they say, I don't know, everything looks fine.
Yeah. Well, they said I had some issues, but all they could really offer were drugs. And they said I might have to have a pacemaker, but they just really didn't know what to do about it. And, and it wasn't that long after that I started taking the herbs. And it took about 3 to 5 years for it all to clear up. But I don't have any heart issues anymore. And,
3 to 5
that's
years.
significant.
Did you hear that, everybody?
Takes time.
It's not the fast track, right? But it
No.
worked. And I think that's
Yeah.
the beautiful part when you brought up that you didn't have the time or the money to go chasing, right? All these really expensive, elaborate, out there protocols, when really, start with the simple, right? Start with the lifestyle stuff, start with the herbs. Like, I think people make this to be 10 times more complicated than it needs to be. Is that kind of what you're seeing out there too?
That's it. Yeah. It ended up being a blessing. I mean, since then, I've talked to so many people that have squandered hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing therapies that actually made them worse instead of better, because they didn't focus. What I realized that the herbs were doing, they weren't just killing the microbes, they were promoting healing at a cellular level. And that's, it took me 10 years, a decade to come around to that, but also to have the science. And that's why I wrote that third book, The Cellular Wellness Solution, is just looking at it from that point of view. And what I find is a lot of therapies out there aren't truly promoting wellness at the cellular level. They're not promoting healing. And because everybody wants the fast track, we want those symptoms gone, we want things fixed. And the fast track can reduce symptoms in some cases, but the only way you're going to get well is for you to truly reestablish the healing capacity of your body so that your body can deal with this thing. And that's just ever so remarkably important. And I think it gets ignored because everybody's on that fast track. And then a decade later, they're right where they started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's frustrating too, because then they'll say, oh, well, I tried this and that didn't work, or I tried that and that didn't work. And it's like, well, no, you didn't try it in conjunction with the lifestyle, with the this, with the that.
Right.
You can't pass go, you can't collect $200, right? You got to start at the beginning. And so many people are starting on, X instead of A, and then they wonder why things aren't working for them. And so that, like I said,
Yep.
that's why every time I start to hear you speak, I just get this big shit-eating grin on my face, because it's the same stuff that I've been out there, waving the flag of going, hey, it doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that
Right.
expensive. Like, start in the beginning. I think we have gotten off track as humans,
Yeah.
how we are supposed to live. Just because we have lights till 2 a.m. doesn't mean we should be up till 2 a.m, right? Like,
Right.
all these things that we've just really gotten off track. And we have, like in your book, we have coexisted with these molecules, with these microbes, for thousands of years, so why now is it causing such havoc? Well, it's because we've just gotten off track as human beings. We forgot
That's
how
true.
humans are supposed to live.
It's true. We're all in a very unnatural situation. We're eating unnatural food. We're exposed to unnatural toxic substances. We're going about our day in a very unnatural way. And all of those things add up and they affect us. But but we get used to that. And a lot of it's driven by the food and pharmaceutical industries and all of these big industries that are making money off of other people's suffering. But the deal is, everybody has a choice to be well. And it was interesting. I came upon a study that when I was writing this latest book, published in a medical journal, that was reviewing overcoming chronic illness. And their bottom line was that overcoming any chronic illness is 90% self-care. In other words, it's what you do. People don't necessarily like to hear that, though, because we don't necessarily want to be accountable. That's a lot of responsibility to say, okay, you're sick because of how you're going about things, and you can change that. It means that if you take that responsibility, that personal accountability, and you don't get well, it says you failed. And that's hard for a lot of people. Whereas if you go pay some doctor $10,000 and his treatment fails, you can get mad at that person and say, they failed, I didn't fail, and you go spend $10,000 for somebody else.
Right.
But truly, it's all about being proactive. Wellness is within us, and it's something that we can all work toward on different levels, and it really boils down to that cellular equation. We are a composite of trillions of cells, and our health is directly related to the health of our cells. And our cells are being threatened by, you eat bad food. That doesn't nourish your cells. That stresses your cells. Toxic substances contaminate our cells with foreign chemicals that slows them down so they can't do their job like they should. Chronic stress keeps them on high alert and prevents sleep. So sleep is really important for downtime. All cells need that full night of rest. So if you're only getting 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep, you're starting your next day with cells that are still stressed and can't do their job. And then we're not moving as much as we should. And there's so many benefits of exercise, but the big thing that I get out of it is it moves blood. So when we are active, even walking around the block, we dilate blood vessels. We flush our cellular space, the spaces between our cells, with fluid, and that allows our cells to purge toxins. So, people are taking all these detox products. Well, the toxins are in your cells, and your cells are constantly trying to purge those toxic substances. So if you're not moving blood, you're not doing that first important step of detoxification. So for folks out there that are too inflamed to get out and walk around the block, that's where infrared sauna, that's where a technology actually helps promote healing. So there are things out there. So you have to ask that question, is it helping my cells heal? That's really important.
Love my sauna. I actually almost was a little late today because I got out of my sauna a little late. And, you gotta, as a girl, you gotta wash and scrub and
Sure.
a little bit more maintenance for me. But yeah, I can't get over what a game changer my sauna has been in my healing path. And I love what you're saying about the self-care, because I had a little meme that I made a couple weeks ago talking about, yes, my self-care feels like a part-time job, but it's better than being full-time sick. That's one of the biggest complaints that I get from folks when I'm working with them, is how much time this all takes. And then they wonder when they can go back to their original lifestyle. It's like, well, it depends. Do you want to go back to your old disease? Right? Because that's what happens when you go back to your old style. If nothing changes, right, folks? We've got to put ourselves first, and we have to treat us like the precious, amazing beings that we are, because that's the problem. We put ourselves on the back burner for so long, and then now we have all these lifestyle diseases, and we're going, well, what happened? Gee.
It's true. I've been refining my health habits for a couple of decades now, probably my whole life, really. But I don't consider it a burden. I look around at what people eat or things that they do and how they go about life, and I just look at it and go, that's going to make me feel bad. Why would I want to do that? And so it's something that you just accept, and it's that wellness lifestyle that you embrace. And after a while, it feels pretty good. It's just what you get used to. And, I just can't imagine living any other way. So it just feels too good. And it's something that I wish more people would embrace and experience, because it's not that hard. It's hard to break habits. Behavioral modification can be difficult. So you can do it in little increments. You can gradually make changes in your diet. You can gradually do the things to change your environment and how you go about life and those kinds of things to create that environment that's healthy. But you can do it. I've told so many people, like, if we could just pluck you up, something that I do in consults, when I talk to people, is I go through their lives and I help them understand how they became ill, which I think is really important. And I'd say, if we just plucked you up and put you on an island somewhere like in Greece, and
Yes, please.
you just had had good food every day that you had to prepare yourself, and you probably grew some of it in your garden, and you had a clean environment that was away from places of air pollution, and your water was clean, and you had good warm social interactions with other people, and you didn't have a lot of distractions. You'd get your health back in just a couple of months. And you'd probably really like it and wouldn't want to live there. So you can create those things within your life. I call it creating your own island. It's just it's what you buy at the grocery store, what you have in your home, and how you go about life that can make a huge difference. And then adding the herbs in, it just exponentially enhances everything that you do.
Absolutely. I have found that this lifestyle, although I love it, like I said, I look forward to it. I don't feel like it's a burden. It's what's given me my life back, right? So it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And I found that sometimes it can be a little on the isolating side. Like, I was out at a networking event the other day, and the host was a little upset because I didn't indulge in her chips and dips and the dairy and the wheats. And she's like, "Oh, well, why don't you try this?" No, I'm sorry, I don't. I'm gluten free, I'm dairy free, and then, "Oh, why don't you put a little champagne in that orange juice?" And I'm like, "No, I quit drinking a while ago too." And she just kind of looked at me like I had two heads and was like, like I was the crazy one for wanting to keep my sanity and my health in check. So how do you personally kind of build that community, to where you're not feeling so isolated, so alone, right? Because I think that can keep a lot of people sick, because like I said, the normal out there muggle world, right, isn't set up for health and wellness. It's not
Sure.
it's not
Yeah.
made to do.
I would say discreetly. It's if I honestly, I'll occasionally have a beer or a glass of wine, generally with a meal, but at a social gathering, I generally don't drink. And the first thing I do is go to the bar and get some kind of soda water drink or something that doesn't have sugar or alcohol in it. And I just walk around with that, and people just don't know the difference. And, when people say, "Hey, we have all this food, it's great," and it's like, "Wow, that's really beautiful. That's very nice." And then I kind of pick through what I can actually eat and go off in a corner and eat. And, so it's, I try not to make a fuss about it. And honestly, I think people are more accepting, and I'm starting to see better food options at restaurants, at gatherings. I think partly too, it's, the crowd you hang with, of
Absolutely.
what kind of health habits they have also. But it's, and I think it is in some circles becoming more popular, more common. Not in enough though. We're still looking at a situation in America where we spend more on healthcare than any other country on earth, and we are at the bottom of all the developed countries as far as our health capacity. Our life expectancy has actually been going gradually down instead of up. And 60%, according to the CDC, 60% of the American population is suffering from some kind of chronic illness. That's embarrassing.
60%. Oh my God.
That's
That is
embarrassing.
embarrassing. Yeah, no, that was me for a little while, on top of the Lyme and the mold. And, I was going on my third autoimmune disease. I was kind of collecting them like trading cards. And,
Right.
I think that was kind of like a good wake up call. I had to stand back and go, okay, what's going on here? Like, I'm not just going to accept this as the norm. And I think that's the other problem that are keeping Americans so sick, especially with the fact that we have pharmaceutical commercials on the TV and, and funny little jingles for over-the-counter medication. I think we've normalized this sickness. And I think it's going to be a huge detriment. We have to stop normalizing. We say quite often that no matter how common a symptom may be, it's never normal, right? It's always your body's check engine light coming on saying, hey, dummy, there's something going on in here, but we just put a piece of tape over that check engine light and continue on with our day. And then we're shocked when we have 3 autoimmune diseases.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's talk about one of the questions that my folks had was about chronic constipation. Like I said, it's one of my favorite topics to talk about because that was part of my story. I started my life off being constipated at the age of 4. I was undiagnosed celiac, and my uncle had killed himself that year. And so there was some early childhood trauma going on. And so you talked about what led up to you being sick, right? Like I didn't just get bit by a tick when I was 13 and I was just sick. I was just some victim.
Right.
No, I had this perfect storm brewing for decades before I got bit by a tick and I got sick. And so I love that you brought that up as well. But so yeah, let's talk about constipation and some of your favorite hacks and why and the whole 9 yards.
It's, I mean, you just said something significant. I didn't consider myself ill till my late 40s, but, when I was in my 20s, I struggled with chronic constipation just like you. And back then, the answer was, well, you're not eating enough fiber. You need more. And I was eating bowlfuls of raisin bran every day, trying to make it better. Right? And it just got worse and worse. And it was grain fiber, not vegetable fiber, what we're really accustomed to. But I also was diagnosed in my 30s with essential hypertension. Going into for a visit, my blood pressure would be typically 150 over 100. And I didn't tolerate any of the drugs, as most people don't. They have a lot of side effects. And so I just kind of said, I'm going to live with that. And so, I had a lot of things going on. By the way, all those herbs for all those years, my blood pressure went back to normal. Now it's typically 115 over 70. That thing of essential hypertension, you're destined to have it and it's going to get worse. Nah, not true. And I really, the lifestyle, but I think the herbs had a lot to do with normalizing my vascular system. But chronic constipation, that was a big one. And it was a long-lasting one that's very frustrating. So when you look at any gut issues, whether you're talking about chronic constipation, SIBO, irritable bowel syndrome, reflux, anything, it all boils down to a couple of different things. 1, eating the wrong foods, and 2, typically stress. So both of those things slow down motility. So high carbohydrate diet has been well defined as being a factor that reduces stomach acid and slows gastric emptying and slows intestinal motility. Stress is another really big one that slows intestinal motility. So here's the deal. If you're not making acid and you've got slow motility, you grow bacteria like H. pylori in your stomach, and eventually it erodes away that lining and you develop ulcers. So this idea, you just need an antibiotic to kill the H. pylori, you're not treating the underlying causes. I get so frustrated of conventional doctors that do not understand what the underlying causes are. They're treating the symptom. They're treating the manifestation. So
there's some functional practitioners that are just as bad, though. Like they will just throw supplements at the issue instead of prescriptions at the issue, and they're still not digging deeper. And so I tell people, if you're talking to a functional practitioner or an acupuncturist and they're not talking to you about lifestyle and all these other things, like run. Otherwise, you're just going to pay through the pocket and you're going to be stuck on a supplement for the rest of your life until that stops working, right? So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but No, it's very true. So eating we typically are eating a lot of carbohydrates, specifically green carbohydrates, and that is food for bacteria, good bacteria and bad bacteria. Bacteria grow as long as food is present. That's really important. Bacteria grow as long as food is present.
So if you slow motility down and dump a bunch of food in your GI tract, then bacteria are going to grow. And in the small bowel, you're going to have overgrowth of bacteria, which ferment, produce gas that gets trapped. So you get the bloating and the gas. And that leads to that overgrowth of bacteria, good and bad. This is why probiotics aren't necessarily a great answer for a lot of people. Good bacteria overgrow, and eventually they start eroding that mucus layer that protects the lining of the gut, and bacteria and food particles start flowing into the bloodstream. Further on down the tract, that slow motility, everything gets stuck and the bacteria overgrow, and that damages the bowel wall, so it becomes sluggish, so it doesn't evacuate. So it's from top to bottom all the way through. Those factors are going to influence it. So the first thing is you got to give up those carbs. You got to get away from all the grain carbohydrates.
Amen.
You know, I've adopted a long time ago I'm not ketogenic because I find ketogenic is uncomfortable. It's hard to do and really follow a healthy diet because you end up eating a lot of animal fat. But I tried to keep my carbohydrate down to 150 grams a day. Keto is under 75. So 150, that's enough that you can, you could even have an occasional piece of pizza or something if you wanted to and still stay within that. The other thing is I try to eat more vegetables than anything else. Now, I ended up with a lot of nut sensitivities, which I can eat nuts better now, but for a long time, I couldn't eat any nuts. I couldn't eat any soy. So a lot of the protein substitutes that I couldn't do, so I was pretty much forced to be a meat eater, but my meat was just enough to give me the protein that I needed. I was mainly eating a lot of vegetables. Some grains I could do, like rice I could do, and that doesn't tend to really disrupt the gut flora as bad, but keeping it under 150, that really is a good guideline. 150 of carbohydrates, eat more vegetables than anything else. Vegetable fiber is different than grain fiber. It's very important to keep that motility going. So that concerted effort of eating a better diet and also working to reduce that stress load, all of those things gradually helped. But, my colon was damaged. My sleep was bad for a long time. So it took a long time for me to get back to normal bowel movements. So other things that you can do for constipation, I tried a lot of different things. I tried laxatives. That's a bad route. You really don't want to go with stimulant laxatives like Senna or Cascara because they actually damage the colon. But I found that milk of magnesia worked pretty darn well. And I could titrate the milk of magnesia such that, like, I was, if I needed to really go, then, you take the full dose. But I got so I could take just a sip in the evening before I go to bed. And that was enough to keep it soft. It wasn't enough a lot of time to keep, all this sounds gross, but it wasn't a lot of time to actually stimulate a bowel movement. So a lot of times, I'd go for a week and I'd just never get an urge like most people do. So, you can evacuate it using abdominal pressure, but it has to be soft. And you can use stool softeners, but just a little milk of magnesia is probably the safest thing that you can use. Milk of magnesia over other pill magnesium products, because the milk of magnesia is a colloid that keeps the magnesium in your colon, so it just pulls in water. So it basically keeps things soft. So that's a nice trick. I tried Triphala, I tried different kinds of other things, and none of them really worked that well. You can use the powdered laxative Miralax that you mix in water, but there are some new studies showing that there's a possibility that Miralax, a synthetic chemical, actually could promote cancer. So I tend to steer away from that. So, if you can use magnesium, if you don't have any problems with magnesium, which most people don't, that's an easy way to go. Healing the gut, though, healing your leaky gut, I use a combination of slippery elm, and I still take slippery elm every day because we want that protective mucus layer to protect and heal the lining of the bowel. So I do slippery elm. The herbs are exceptionally good. I said, well, I took antibiotics and it wrecked my gut and made my constipation worse. The herbs actually helped. Because what the herbs are doing, so when you take an herb, you're not getting a chemical like an antibiotic. You're getting the plant's entire defense system. It's kind of like taking the plant's immune system. So it's selective. It doesn't kill normal flora. It's selective for pathogens. So I find that herbs are actually much better for balancing gut flora than probiotics or anything else that I've used. So the herbs can be part of that Lyme therapy. But certain herbs like berberine or berberine containing herbs are exceptionally good for balancing gut flora. It kills Candida. It helps balance that gut function. And then another herb, dandelion, I sometimes use that because it's good for liver and promotes bowel flow. Got to get that going again. Got to get that liver pumping. But also Mimosa pudica, which is very good. It's another source of mucilage, and it's really good for balancing gut. So those kinds of things can really help.
That's awesome. I was noticing on your site you have a kit that you use for specifically for Lyme. Do you have something that's along the lines of the maintenance kind of stuff that you're talking about?
Yeah, we have a couple of products. Gut Balance has those ingredients that I mentioned, and we have a gut program that goes along with that. Just the program that I used and have used for a decade or more, refining it for helping people with all kinds of bowel dysfunction. So unlike the gastroenterologists that go, oh, you've got reflux, we've got to treat that, and you've got SIBO, and we got to treat that. No, most of them don't even know what that is. And you've got constipation, we're going to treat that. You have to look and go, well, it's dysfunction top to bottom. We've got to treat the whole track.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better, but I can remember sitting in the hospital 20 years ago with our gastroenterologist, and he was eating this plate of god-awful fried food, and he looked at me and said, what people eat has absolutely nothing to do with gastrointestinal dysfunction.
Did your head explode?
I just smiled and said, okay, that's great. I mean, it just illustrates how clueless it can get.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It breaks my heart. And you have a calmer, cooler head that prevails like me. It really, it makes my head want to explode. And I don't have a poker face. So when people say stuff like that, like it just washes across my face of like, are you freaking kidding me? And so I'm needing to learn that, that poker face and that, being just a little bit more easier going out in the world.
You have to, the medical profession is so opinionated, that's the establishment. We're right, we have all the answers, and you're not going to change that. And I railed against the establishment for years and realized where I'm going to do the most good is helping people understand this and putting them in control. And as that happens, that will work its way up to physicians and providers. And I'm seeing that. There are a lot of providers that really do want to know this stuff and really are more open-minded than there were 10 years or 20 years ago. Absolutely. So there's been improvement.
Absolutely. No, and you're right. I think you do get the best results when you're staying in your own lane, right? Speaking in your own truth, and just a magnet for the people who need you, can find you, instead of rallying against the establishment, because that's a lot of wasted energy, a lot of headache from banging your head up against the wall. So I need, like I said, that's something I need to be a little bit more diplomatic about, and standing in that truth myself. So thank you for that. Like, I knew this was going to be beautiful. Like, I was so excited when you said yes. So this is awesome. this is shameless plug time. So I just got done reading Unlocking Lyme. Beautiful book. Oh my gosh. I wish there was a way I could have you sign it, through the screen. But you've got so many beautiful things out right now. Like what are you promoting right now? What's your baby that you want to talk about?
Well, my newest book is the Cellular Wellness Solution. I don't know if you have a copy of that one yet. We'll get you one. That is really taking everything that I've learned over the past couple of decades and bringing it down to one central core concept. And that concept, it took me 20 years to get here, but taking anything down to the cellular level changes everything. We tend to look at the body as the whole and treat it kind of like you would treat a car, right? So, if your heart's off, we'll give you a drug to tune your heart up and et cetera. But our body isn't like a car. A car is a single unit. So if you break something down to its smallest functional unit, it's going to be simpler to work with. So a car is a unit. A cell phone is a unit. A 747 is a unit. And if something breaks in that unit, then it has to be fixed before that's a functional unit again. Our body is made of living cells, which are microscopic, self-contained units. And the beauty of that is that our body can work even when we're losing cells. And typically we do. We lose about 1 billion cells a day. So cells are constantly wearing out, being replaced, or regenerating. And that makes us very different than a car. So the smallest functional unit in the body is that living cell. And what I learned is if you're doing the things you need to do to keep one cell in the body healthy, you're affecting every cell in the body. So our cells are pretty remarkable in that it's like your heart isn't a unit. Your heart is this composite of billions of heart cells. So you're constantly wearing out heart cells, but your heart keeps right on pumping, right? And so if you're taking care of those individual cells, then that's going to really be a better way to go about it. So the really remarkable thing about our cells is that they can recover from being stressed and they can regenerate new cells. So every cell in the body is, our cells work hard. Our cells are pumping our heart and brain impulses. Everything that's happening in the body is a function of cells. And so if your cells are healthy, you'll feel great. If you have symptoms of any kind, it's because your cells are stressed. So when we look at symptoms that are more specific, like if somebody blocks off a coronary artery, they have chest pain because those cells, they haven't gotten oxygen and they release substances that send messages to the brain that something's wrong. So we feel chest pain, but they also lose their function. And if you don't get that blood flowing again, you're going to lose that part of your heart and it could be catastrophic. But when you look at symptoms that are more general, like fatigue, that's a big one, and you mentioned that earlier. What about that thing of fatigue? What fatigue is when all the cells in the body are stressed all at once. So think about it. You've got all these little microscopic machines doing all the work in the body. And if all of them are stressed by bad diet or exposure to toxic substances, mold toxins, whatever, or they're not getting the rest they need to recover, or just that constant issue with microbes, which we can go a little more deeply into if you like. If your cells are stressed, then they're not going to be able to do their job and you're going to be fatigued. So they need energy. So when cells are stressed, they work harder, they use more energy, they run down their mitochondria, so they become energy deprived. They can't do their job as well, so everything in the body suffers. And So it's all interrelated. So this thing we call homeostasis is when all the cells in the body are functioning normally and all of those functions inside the body are coordinated. So when we talk about nerves and hormones and neurotransmitters, the brain is constantly sensing everything going on outside the body, and it has to constantly change what's happening inside the body to match that. So what hormones and other messaging systems in the body do is coordinate cellular functions. So if your hormones are off, it means your cells aren't coordinated and things aren't working right. And so when you're stressed or, toxic or whatever, you throw those hormones off. If cells can't talk to each other, they can't work together. And so it's part of that whole process. So looking at symptoms from the cellular point of view, looking at hormone balances from the cellular point of view, and very importantly, looking at the concept of healing from a cellular point of view, it changes the playing field in how you deal with things. So what healing very specifically is the ability of cells to regenerate and repair internal damage. That's what healing is. We use that word healing and it's kind of this nebulous thing. Well, the body can fix itself. It's our cells. Our cells are constantly trying to recover from stress and rebuild and repair. Now, that's not unlimited. All the cells in the body will gradually run out of mitochondria and run out of energy. And that's what aging is. So when we look at aging, it's the gradual loss of functional cells through time. So if our cells are never stressed, then we can live a long time and we don't get ill. What chronic illness is when cells in the body are chronically stressed. The stresses are ongoing. So our cells don't get an opportunity to recover. In other words, healing is impaired. We have different chronic illnesses because we have different cells and different stress factors. And then there's the microbe factor too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on that. You have got such a beautiful, succinct way of just breaking this down to the most fundamental level that it's just beautiful. Like all the little nuggets of wisdom, just every single time I just get like re-energized by you and what you're putting out there. So I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being on this journey.
Oh, pleasure.
Speaking your truth and sharing your story over and over and over and over again. Like, God bless you and thank you. And where can people find more information about you or get your book or look more into your protocols?
The Vital Plan is our supplement company, and there I built programs to help people with chronic illnesses like chronic Lyme disease, with herbal protocols and support, health coaching, that sort of thing. But also the Cellular Wellness website is information about the book, and you can find the book on Vital Plan and Cellular Wellness, both, but also on Amazon. And then I have another site, Rawls-MD, which is mainly just information focused toward a chronic illness and chronic Lyme audience. So any of those places are really good.
That's awesome. I'll definitely be putting that in the show notes. And again, just thank you for taking the time out.
Pleasure.
Being here. I really appreciate it. And all of you folks, have a healthy day.
All right. Take care. Thank you.